Hello, everyone. My name is Fingar, and it is a pleasure to be able to speak to you all today. What is one of the largest things that people in today's society are always worried about? Money. Many Americans are often distraught about where their hard earned tax money goes to, what the government invests it in, and how they can justify taking your money. Some of these investments could raise eyebrows. I believe that prisons are and were always meant to be places for punishment and rehabilitation. However, they are not for promoting laziness. With that being said, putting our nation's 2 million plus inmates to work would have a number of benefits. American taxpayers spend roughly $80 billion a year to keep prisons running and prisoners behind bars. According to the Marshall Project, the average cost for each individual prisoner is about $132,000 a year in California, and that is an extreme case. There are some people out there who may think that mandating anyone to work, regardless of where they are and what they have done, is near slavery. On the contrary, it is really not fair to compare innocent people who have been unwillingly taken from their homes and put to work to people who have done some rather heinous things in their lives and are paying the price for what they have done. I believe that any American taxpayer would be in their right mind to share or discuss their thoughts on this matter. After all, if the government takes any fraction of my income or savings and plans to allocate that money into the national budget for the year, I have the right to know where it goes and how effective it is at achieving a set goal. It is also rather difficult to have any expertise in prison life and economics, considering I have never been or known anyone who works or has been in prison. Towards the end of my presentation, after I've made my argument, please feel free to leave any questions, suggestions, or thoughts you may have in the YouTube comments section, or shoot me a message in Canvas. I would be happy to talk about the subject. Like I said before, I have never been to prison or have known anyone who has really well or on a personal level. It is possible that some of you may know someone who has had that experience before. From what I've gathered about my classmates, it seems that most of you are around the same age as me and are nervous about money or taxes. I think it will really benefit us all to know more about the price that is paid to keep millions of people behind bars. Just imagine what could be accomplished if more people were motivated to rehabilitate themselves in a constructive way. First, we need to start by stating the problem at hand. Massive sums of money are allocated by the state and federal governments every year to keep prisons running at full capacity. Roughly 1 in 3 formerly incarcerated people are unemployed and cannot successfully reintegrate themselves into society as a result. Taxpayers may feel that it is not fair that they have to work to keep a family fed, while prisoners can sit comfortably in a guarded cell for years with 3 meals a day. Which brings me to the next point, that being the details, starting with all federal prisons should mandate this plan to the fullest capacity possible at that moment. Construction or infrastructure projects that have been previously canceled or halted can be resumed, and prisoners will receive assurance that they will build up their resumes and keep the same privileges they had to begin with. By mandating that inmates who reside in federal prisons participate in work programs, there are several possible outcomes. The first would be an ease strain on government budget and planning. The second would be a greater incentive to work, since labor would teach prisoners valuable skills for when they get out. And the third is related to the second point, in that someone who was once incarcerated will have built character during their time and therefore make them more likely to be hired. All of these points help inmates rehabilitate and reintegrate into society. As for resources that are required and already available, we would need the following: a large force of guards to ensure the safety of inmates in outlying areas, a steady flow of inmates to keep up with quotas or meet demands, and a sufficient amount of funds to still be able to provide contemporary prison lifestyles. All of these things are in rather plentiful supply. Inmates and guards, there are about 2 million inmates nationwide and a couple 100,000 prison personnel. Money would also not be a big issue for the government, considering inmates are already provided with 3 meals a day and a commissary and a clinic. Currently, working in prison is voluntary in the majority of federal prisons. Prisoners would make about 50 cents an hour for basic tasks, such as using machine tools and doing laundry. Larger and more ambitious projects could be more practical if there are more people to work on them. This allows for prisoners to have a resume saying they participated in the construction of a bridge, per se. One major objection to this plan would be one of ethics. During the 1930s and 1940s in the Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, there was a vast array of state-sponsored labor camps known as gulags. These gulags were designed to house political opponents. Some may argue that suggesting prisoners be forced to work would be synonymous to a gulag. There are two reasons why my proposal would suggest otherwise. The first is that the people who are in federal prisons here in America have actually done things that are worthy of them being locked up for. The second is that many of the people who were imprisoned by Stalin only voiced their opinions and were doing time for being political opponents. Neither of these reasons are the case here. Not only would the successful implementation of my plan bring the many benefits stated, it would also bring a benefit that would mean a lot to some people, and I am talking about an eased burden on some families. The Marshall Project wrote an article about a Louisiana woman whose ex-husband has been in prison for about 35 years as of today. She spent thousands to keep him reimbursed and for any chance to be able to talk to him. I believe that the freed up money could be spent on helping families recover the costs that someone like Talita Hayes pays for. Today I spoke to you all about the problems with prison labor and costs, and how the dilemma could be remedied. I shared with you 7 points, these being the problem, the details, the solution, the practicality, a comparison, an objection, and some reinforcement. For something that relies so heavily on elements that come from inside prisons, there is not much I would be able to suggest any of you take part in or contribute to. However, I believe that collective thoughts and ideas would be a good start for future ideas and innovations. What is one of the biggest concerns on Americans' minds? Money. It brings many people, myself included, some peace of mind knowing that the money that is taken for taxes has been well spent and helps make our country a better place. I hope that you all are able to take from this experience what you will and formulate your own thoughts on the matter. I would like to thank you all for allowing me to present and share my thoughts about a system I believe needs reform. Thank you.